we have unwrapped our new toy. It is a bracket. It is here. 64 teams. Kyle Schassburger, David Kahn with you for the next hour or so. Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. Thank you for watching with us live on YouTube, wherever you may podcast, CSN, College Sports Now. Appreciate all the support all year long. We are back from Hoover. And the one thing I hate about this bracket, Kahn, is we unveil, react, top 16 seeds. We'll go through all of them. Vanderbilt, the number one overall seed for the first time since 2007, second time overall in school history, paired with the Hattiesburg Regional. Southern Miss comes in, picks up that last overall seed. And really, I don't have a lot of gripes. We'll go through last four in, first four out type of thing, and some of our stories from Hoover. But the conference tournament week, I feel like, is overshadowed, much like in college football, conference championship Saturday, and even the conference tournaments during basketball season. It's the same thing because we're constantly looking ahead now as we look to crown a national champion. And sure, we get to litigate conference tournament week, but I don't think we get to give it its love and appreciation and really, dive deep on the stories from this past week all across the country the way we would like to, just because we're looking ahead to Friday.
Yeah, we're looking ahead to the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Conference tournament week for some is meaningless. Like we saw this week in Hoover. There were a lot of teams that were already locked up as top 8 national seeds. They went one and done. Didn't matter. Still top 8. Versus these mid-major conferences where the conference tournament is everything. If you don't win the conference tournament, you're not in. A la Southeastern Louisiana. A la UT Rio Grande Valley. 2 teams in the Southland that we thought both might get in, and both did not even get in. UTRGV not even among the last 4 out. Southeastern was the first team out, and their athletic director was the chair of the committee. So I do have some gripes, and I've run some numbers. But what it all boils down to for me is it does really matter what conference you're in. That's what this committee revealed to me with their selections in 2025.
SEC record, 13 teams. You get 2 new teams in the conference, so 16 overall. But 13 of the 16, they were primed to break a new record as they did, a couple of years ago when they put 11 into the field. Was that last year? 11 into the field. So Kentucky does get in over some of these other teams who went 0-1 this past week in Hoover. So, yeah, there might have been some preferential treatment. I'll let you kind of lay out your case for that, and I'll react, and I'll blatantly tell you your numbers are wrong, just so I can take devil's advocate approach. So we will get to that because I think the committee did a fine job. Really, the only thing I would poke holes at is Coastal Carolina being the 13 and not maybe the 9 or sliding in at 8. But when you look at Oregon State, who is the 8th national seed, 1 through 8, Vanderbilt, Texas. So Vanderbilt leaps Texas. That's kind of the biggest news because outside of, maybe Coastal being 13 and those first 4 teams that are left out of the field, Texas started 19-2 in the SEC regular season. They go one and done in Hoover, and they do get leapfrogged by Vanderbilt, who won all 3 of their games en route to their second SEC title in 3 years. Arkansas falls back to 3 then. North Carolina did not get into the top 4. They're 5. Auburn, because they played the toughest schedule in the SEC, they are number 4. North Carolina at 5, LSU 6, Georgia at 7, and Oregon State at 8. I'll draw the line right there for now, David Kahn, and allow you at this moment. I don't know. You bring up the selection chair, okay? His name, Jay Artigua, I think is how you pronounce it, the Southeastern guy. I actually, when he spoke yesterday on ESPN with Matt Schick and the others, I appreciated his transparency, and I actually bought what he was selling in terms of, looking at Kentucky versus some of these other teams and using almost the eye test and saying, hey, they're going to play a more difficult schedule because they're in the SEC. They swept Oklahoma. They took 2 out of 3 from Tennessee. Like, do we really think Troy and Kentucky, putting them side by side, are the same team? I appreciated that and that feeling of knowing that's what it felt like in the room, and that's what they were debating. And 2, also, Oregon State not being weighed down by Oregon and losing 4 games because, Oregon did make a run in the Big Ten tournament, and now you're not comparing necessarily Oregon State to Oregon. You're comparing Oregon to teams with similar RPI, right around in the range because Oregon was falling in that RPI. And when you consider they only played 21, I think, home games all season long, 19
Yeah.
maybe. And they get series wins over Cal Poly, at home over UC Irvine. And yeah, they're sitting out last week. But when you really start to dissect these schedules, here's my thing, and I'll lob it back to you. You can create any sort of narrative that you want. You can skew the numbers however you want in whatever favor you'd like to tell whatever story. And that goes for anything in life, even stats, even for us, in broadcasting or in journalism or reporters. What story do you want to tell? We're trying to tell a story for all of our partner schools with Learfield. How do we do that with listenership? It goes for anything in life. But I think that this committee had there were less things to get angry about than maybe previous years, or maybe they relied more heavily on the RPI, maybe because of the presence that was on the selection committee from sitting athletic directors favored some of those teams that were on the bubble. You can say Southern Miss, with Jeremy McClain being on that committee, helped USM, but there was an easy tiebreaker there because they took 2 out of 3 at TCU earlier this year, who was a team that made a run in Arlington, won the Big 12 tournament, had gotten hot late, but they lost at home 2 out of 3 to Southern Miss, and that's very loud. So you had that head-to-head tiebreaker. So I don't have a lot of grief to provide to the committee.
So I'm going to say this to start. I think that this committee did the best job of any of the committees since we have been podcasting together over the last 5 years. I want to start there. It's a very hard job. It's a thankless job. It is a job that you are going to get criticized and ridiculed for no matter what you do. So I want to give props to the committee because I think they got at least 62 of the 64 teams into the field correctly. I also believe that 64 is the proper number and that we should not expand the field. I think that is the proper number and we should not add more teams. It just gets even hairier and hairier when you do that. Let's leave it where it is. It's a system that works. It's an even number. It works out. Let's keep it that way. I will say the 2 biggest gripes I have with the committee are Coastal Carolina being the number 13 overall seed. I think they're very underseeded. And UConn not getting into the field. And honestly, I think they deserve to be in over Miami, over Kentucky, over USC, and Arizona State. I'd put them in over any of those 4. That's just me. I looked at the numbers, and I'll give you the numbers, and you can decide what you think. But that's just my own feeling. And here's the thing. The real why I said off the top is it really matters what conference you're in is some of these schools are like you have to play the games you're assigned in your schedule. Like, yes, if you play in the Big East, which is one of the lower rated conferences according to RPI conference ranking per Warren Nolan, or the Sun Belt, your strength of schedule is going to be worse than the teams in the SEC and the teams in the ACC and the teams in the Big 12 and the teams in the Big 10 because it just is. That is what it is. So what else do you have to do besides win your games? And what did UConn do? They went 24-4 since April 9th. They went 17-4 in the Big East. They split the Big East regular season championship with Creighton. They made it to the Big East championship game and lost to Creighton, who's in the field as the AQ. What did Coastal Carolina do? They won 18 in a row to close the year. They had 6 sweeps in the Sun Belt. Like, what else can you ask of them to do? And then you go, oh, okay, you're in the Sun Belt, so you're the 13th overall seed. Like, I'm not saying that there's
the Sun Belt
a
was trash this year. 9th.
It was.
They finished 9th in conference RPI. That's what weighed them down.
I know that. The strength of schedule for Coastal was 75. That was the huge metric that popped out because the RPI is 8. But what else can you ask them to do? They can only play the games on their schedule. Coastal had a great non-conference record as well. So, like, what more can these mid-major teams do to get ranked higher or to get into the field over teams in the SEC like Kentucky, who only had 29 wins this year? They went 29-24. Like, that's a bad season. I'm sorry. That's a bad season. I know they had the 9th best strength of schedule, but their RPI was 38. UConn's RPI, 41. And they went 38-21. Like, I feel bad for these mid majors because they keep getting left out to dry when all they're doing is winning. Like, they're just winning. They can't do anything else. If these teams, if UConn had lost like 6 more games and had not had a positive non-conference record at 19-15, like, I just don't know what more you can ask of these mid-major teams to do. And then they sit out there and go, what do we do wrong? We won 24 of our last 28. And it's like, oh, you didn't win one game in the conference tournament when you made it to the championship. You didn't win that one game. It just kind of sucks for them. Like, I'm not saying it's wrong because, like you said, the Sun Belt was trash, but like, it just sucks. Like, I feel for them.
Coastal Carolina too lost a series to Troy during the year when it comes to us talking about the Sun Belt. And unfortunately, we didn't get the Southern Miss game until the title game in Montgomery on Sunday. So now Coastal has won 19 in a row. The 19-game winning streak of Southern Miss is no more. Both of them get in as hosts. Coastal went 13, Southern Miss at 16. But in breaking down Kentucky and UConn, 38 RPI in Kentucky, 41 for UConn. So you get into the nitty-gritty, 8. What is that? Not strength of schedule. An 8 for Kentucky, which you're going to get playing in the SEC versus an 80 for UConn. But UConn did go out and collect a couple of a big win, including 2 out of 3 at Miami this year. That was in early March.
Yeah.
They beat Vanderbilt 6-2.
They beat North Carolina.
And they beat North Carolina. But relative, as Antigua put yesterday, relative to the competition within their conference, which I hear you, they can't help that. You know, none of these teams had an RPI inside the top 100, was kind of how I recall watching and listening to Antigua yesterday, and his reaction was, of the teams inside his league, of the run that they had made, you look at who they were playing and who they were beating, and you stack that up against a team like Kentucky, which, yeah, they're going to get the benefit of the doubt because they're in the SEC, because they both have 12 quad 1 wins. So those are equal, quad 1 and quad 2 combined. And Kentucky only has one more quad 1 win. So it's not like, even as you inspect even further to uncover that Kentucky, that their resume in terms of the analytics is that much better than UConn. And I think that's what, you know, the reason for the hill that you're standing on, Kahn. But when you look at 2 out of 3 from Tennessee, who is a host, yeah, Connecticut won 2 out of 3 from Miami. Miami was among the last 4 in, right? And then Kentucky's sweep of Oklahoma, loud as well. They only lost 4 games, quad 3 and quad 4. You look at UConn, they lost 6. They don't have a quad 4 game. So it just goes to show you how slim these margins really are when it comes down to it. UConn, if you didn't want to put it in the committee's hands, you had to win the Big East tournament. And they didn't. And I hate it for them because they felt they had done enough during the year. But I can accept and understand why the committee went the way that they did. Do you think UConn is the most, if we were to use the word egregious, of the last 4 or first 4 out? Do we have that officially? Do you have that in front of you?
Yes,
Was it?
Okay. I do. Southeastern, UConn, Troy, and Virginia. And yes, far and away, I say UConn is the most egregious snub of the last 4 out that deserves to get in. Southeastern, if you don't win the Southland, you're not getting in. We know that. Troy, it's unfortunate, but you look at the metrics. Strength of schedule 71, RPI 47. Their RPI is worse than everybody of the last 4 in, plus Miami and Kentucky, except for Arizona State. Their strength of schedule is 71. They only played, 20 quad 1, quad 2 games, and they went 8-12, and they play in the Sun Belt. So it's unfortunate, but they had the least amount of wins against quad 1 and quad 2 teams of the last 4 in and the first 4 out. So you kind of just shrug your shoulders and go, sorry, guys. Like, you had a great season, but and that's why I said it really matters what conference you play in. I can accept Kentucky getting in over UConn. I understand.
Well,
they
lost 6. They lost like 6 one-run games too. I mean, that stuff is being factored into this when speaks to the margins again. And this was talked about yesterday when the bracket came out. When you're looking at Kentucky, next to these other teams, and you see how razor thin those margins are to them having 2 or even 3 more wins, and the difference that can make optically when we're looking at resumes and looking at RPIs and strength of schedule and non-strength of schedule. They already have a 3-spot advantage in RPI if we're going to rely on that alone, or at least use that as the tiebreaker. So I think all of this data, more so than any previous year, to your point earlier, you have less to gripe about than previous years. I think all of that is borne out through the decisions that were made. If you really want to break it down, I think we can all come to terms with what we have. The one exception being UConn sure not being in the field, if you want to die on that hill. And then back to Coastal, a double champion, right? Winning the Sun Belt regular season, winning the Sun Belt Conference Tournament Championship. They are one of 16, but the postseason won't run through Conway in the Super Regional round. They'll likely have to go on the road. Should chalk hold. Who are they paired up with? Coastal at 13. Is that with Auburn? The 4?
Yes.
Yeah. So, anything else on the bracket itself? Let me run through the 9 through 16. So 9 Florida State, 10 Ole Miss, 11 Clemson, 12 Oregon, 13 Coastal Carolina, 14 Tennessee, 15 UCLA, 16 Southern Miss. So you've got should chalk hold. Vandy, Southern Miss, Texas, UCLA, in terms of your supers, or the winners of each of these regionals, however you want to formulate it in your mind. Arkansas, Tennessee, super juicy. Auburn, Coastal, North Carolina, Oregon, LSU, Clemson, Battle of Death Valleys, Georgia, Ole Miss, and then Oregon State, Florida State. So those are the pairings of the 16 regionals. It won't be all chalk that holds. It never is. So we will have some. So we will.
No.
That absolutely will not happen.
We had 9 or 10? I think it was 9 or 10 advance last year of the hosts. It was 9 or 10. I can't remember how many. It was 9 or 10 that advanced to the Super Regional round last year. And actually, I discovered something on Twitter this morning called pair ratings. I sent it to you. I slid it into your DMs. It is a regional winner prediction matrix. According to pair ratings, it expects 9 host seeds to advance. It says Arkansas has the best odds to advance out of their regional in Fayetteville. It says these following 7 teams are candidates to lose: UCLA, Clemson, Ole Miss, Florida State, Oregon State, Coastal Carolina, and Southern Miss. And the 3 teams with the hardest draws: UCLA, Ole Miss, and Florida State. Now, this is one prediction matrix, but I found it and it was fascinating. And it also has College World Series predictions, all like winner for the year. I have not discovered this before, but I thought it was a really, really cool little matrix thing. It gives you each team in each regional's percentage to win, which also on Warren Nolan actually has a regional prediction matrix as well. So Warren Nolan continuing to add to its features.
That is pretty cool. I didn't see that one. I know you had sent it to me. I will add on the Big 12, not getting a host, which the Big 12 and ACC regular season champion, Georgia Tech having to go to Oxford.
Yep.
It's the first time since 1999 that A, the Big 12 will not host a regional, and B, the ACC regular season champ will not host a regional. Now, the Big 12
West Virginia
did still get a couple extra teams into the field here.
Yeah.
Like Arizona, 3 of the last 4 in were Big 12 teams.
Yeah, they were.
In Arizona State, in Kansas State, and who am I missing?
Oklahoma State, and USC was the 4th team.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. So the Big 12 is the 3rd best RPI conference in the country, according to Warren Nolan. It's the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12. So they get the nod there. And really, I think RPI is still being heavily used in decision-making, because if you take a look at the top 16, the only top 16 RPI team that is not a host is Alabama. They are number 13, and they are not a host. But, and I believe they are, where are they? Southern Miss?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Miami.
the best. They're the best 2 seed. So there you go. They're the top 2 seed. They are in this number 16 regional with Southern Miss. So there you go. They're the 17th best team according to what the NCAA tournament says. So RPI definitely still being used. When you take a look at Georgia Tech, let's talk Yellow Jackets. Their RPI is worse than every single host. It's 20. The worst RPI of any host is Southern Miss. It's 19. Their strength of schedule is better than 4 hosting teams at 39. It's better than Coastal, Southern Miss, LSU, and Oregon State. I kind of throw Oregon State out the window because they had to piecemeal their schedule together. Southern Miss, it's because they're in the Sun Belt. Coastal, it's because they're in the Sun Belt. LSU was a bit surprising to me, but there you go. They only went 15-12, though, in those quality games, those quad 2, quad 1 games, and only 2 hosts for Georgia Tech, only 2 hosts had less than 40 wins this year. That was Auburn, who had the number 1 strength of schedule, and Florida State, whose RPI is 6 spots better than Georgia Tech, and whose strength of schedule was 14 spots better than Georgia Tech. Now, they didn't have 40 wins. They had 38 each, but they have other metrics that put them ahead of Georgia Tech. And they played better in quad 1, quad 2. Both of them did. So, again,
we shouldn't forget either. It seems like Florida State Virginia was not getting in even with that Florida State series. It would have been too big of a climb, but let's not forget about the school shooting that canceled that series. Yep. So Virginia, who played the 16th out of 16th schedule in the ACC, and the RPI suffered for it, and the strength of schedule, and all those things. It's not their fault. But even with that series, if they were to win 1 or 2 games, I don't think that puts Virginia in. However, what if Virginia won 2 or 3 and it impacted Florida State and where they are in the pecking order?
Yeah.
Maybe it wouldn't be too big because they would be at home. But, like, those are 3 games that Florida State didn't get. What was the ACC championship, North Carolina over Florida State?
North Carolina over Florida State. North Carolina drummed them 14-4 was the final. Virginia's metrics are just too rough. RPI of 64, strength of schedule 111. They were never getting in.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised they were among the first 4 out. Honestly, like that those metrics are awful. And they were the 4th team out, like ahead of like a Texas A&M or. I'm like, whoa, okay, wow. That's a little bit of conference bias right there, in my opinion.
Florida State does not like playing in the ACC championship.
No, they do not. Not even a little bit. Like I said, my 2 biggest gripes are Coastal's underseeded and UConn. I think deserve to get in over somebody. But I'm with you in the fact that I do think this committee did a good job and a better job than other committees in the past, and they did the best they could. And yeah, compare UConn and Kentucky or have them play each other in a 1-game playoff. Kentucky probably wins 9 times out of 10. So. Yes.
Well,
I'll give you the Kentucky, but then you look at Miami. UConn beat them. So, like, you took the TCU Southern Miss thing, right? Southern Miss host, TCU not. Use the same eye test for UConn and Miami. UConn beat Miami. Why is UConn not in over the Hurricanes?
Well, let's look at that real quick. So Miami RPI at 40, 1 spot ahead of UConn is what I'm looking at.
Strength of schedule is way better. It's 8 versus 85.
Yeah. That's going to be why right there. Plus Miami, they got the 18 quad 1 wins versus 12 for UConn.
UConn has 12.
That kind of solves the argument for me right there as you parse through it. Like, I don't need to see anything more.
It's the conference thing. That's what it is. It's Miami plays in the ACC and UConn plays in the Big East, which is the Big East is the 11th rated conference in college baseball. And the ACC is the 2nd rated conference in college baseball.
So I just continue to go back. If you're UConn, win the games. Win the title. Don't be slow out of the gates.
Yeah. You got to win the Big East tournament.
Yeah, you have to. And also, if you want to blame somebody, blame ECU. I mean, seriously, blame Houston Christian.
Yeah.
Cal Poly and WKU are interesting because
I don't know if you can blame Houston Christian because you still got 1 team in. Honestly, Houston Christian helped out people because if Southland and UTRGV make the final, that's a 2-bid Southland potentially.
Sure. Okay. I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Western Kentucky getting in. winning CUSA, they fizzled
on a walk-off.
Like they were off the bubble. I mean, they were on the bubble, I suppose, but like the only way they're going to work their way back out of the into the field was to win it all. And they did that. So DBU gets the at-large. By the way, LSU, I think, because this isn't your grandpa's DBU. I mean, it's DBU. It's Dan Hefner. It's solid. But I think LSU in that Baton Rouge Regional is one of the more favorable among any of these.
I got some numbers on DBU for you that, hold on here. DBU 21-3 since April 6th. Third best record against top 25 RPI teams. 10th 40-win season in the last 11 years. Don't go sleeping on the Patriots, all right? Don't you do it.
Well, I can guarantee you LSU fans are sleeping on the Patriots. So
they shouldn't.
Confident as ever at the box this weekend. Nebraska stealing a bid in the Big Ten. I mean, ECU, Nebraska, potentially Cal Poly, although I think them winning at least into the semifinals did enough to get them an at-large in the Big West along with UC Irvine. But Cal Poly ended up winning it, extinguishing any sort of doubt. Western Kentucky. So those are just, some of the bid thievery. And the biggest was ECU as a 6 seed at the American, knocking off your beloved Tulane Green Wave.
Hate to see it.
Some of the, I got a qualifiers graphic up here. So A10 Rhode Island, mentioned ECU, American, Creighton Big East, Cal Poly, Wright State out of the horizon again. Miami Mac, first time since what, like 05, 07 for Miami?
Yep. 05.
Central Connecticut State, the NEC.
They beat LIU. The Sharks will not return to the tournament.
They will not. Vanderbilt, your number one overall seed. If you want an automatic bid for the SEC, that was it. Seems so stupid saying that.
It's easier to say which teams from the SEC didn't make the tournament. A&M, South Carolina, Missouri. That's it. Which we all knew. We all knew that because as soon as A&M lost, that was it. The teams were locked. We knew who was getting in the field. The only question was Kentucky. And in the back of our heads, we all knew Kentucky was getting in. All right? Like, we just knew. It's the SEC. If there is an SEC team on the bubble, they're getting in. Just for perpetuity. All right? The SEC is the best conference in college baseball. They're getting every single team in that's on the right side of the bubble.
I thought when the top 4 seeds were released, so we got the host sites on Sunday night at 8:30 Eastern as you and I were driving back from Hoover, all in alphabetical order. Like they're trying not to tip their cap in any way, protect the novelty of this whole thing for a 12 o'clock release Eastern time on Monday, Memorial Day. But then right before that, on like 11, an hour earlier, they do alphabetically the top 4, and there's no North Carolina. And it's just the 4 SEC schools. Yeah. It's like, this is the biggest middle finger. Like, why even do that? Because you're just creating more conversation and allowing more people to pile up and try to take a big old number 2 on the SEC who don't operate inside the league. Like you're just creating more problems for yourself. Like, why even do that? That wasn't even necessary.
It was a gigantic middle finger to the ACC.
Because then you're giving an hour of people to arm themselves and prepare for what is about to come and be delivered to them. And they're going to have their pitchforks ready.
Yeah, because you sent that to me and I go, oh, cool. Auburn's the 4 seed. Like, you just knew. You see those 4 and you go, cool. It's Vandy, Texas, Arkansas, Auburn. Like, why even put that out? There's no point in doing it. You put, you're like, oh, we put it in alphabetical order so nobody knows. Yeah, everybody knew what the order was. We already knew it was Vandy, Texas, Arkansas, Auburn. Done. Locked. Matt Schick could have opened the broadcast and go, well, we know the top 4 seeds. Here's the order. Boom. Like, you could have just started that way. Now, granted, Matt Schick did rip through the top 16 very quickly, or top 8 very quickly. So props to him for not just, humming and hawing and saying, oh, we got all this stuff going on. KP, what do you think? Mike Rooney, what do you think? Blah, blah, blah. He was like, no, here's the top 8. Boom. Let's go. I was like, thank you, Matt Schick. Well done.
I thought it was
appreciate you.
I thought it was a well done show. I would love Matt Schick's job. I would like Matt Schick's job. Much.
I actually watched the bracket breakdown after the 1 hour selection show, and I thought that was a very well done show. Well, I was doing that while I started doing regional rundown prep. Okay.
I got 9 holes in with Pudge yesterday and a light, gentle mist. And on the 8th hole, shot, I think, 7 over. Nothing worse than a bogey. Missed a first hole in one by 2 inches. on Winding Creek's par 3 fourth. It's just incredible. The caddy work by my good luck charm and daughter. Thank you very much. But I'm watching. I turned it on the second to last hole, and I had it going on my speaker. So we turned down the country music, had Matt Schick and KP and Rooney, injecting them into my ears on the golf course, and it was fabulous. And I heard North Carolina at number 5, one of 9 ACC teams to go, gets the ACC automatic bid. Stetson, you want to pause on how Stetson got into this field? Holy smokes. They tried. I mean, they tried in the ASUN. Florida Gulf Coast and Stetson. Were they tied at the time?
No. So, okay. So here's what happened. So Stetson and Florida Gulf Coast were playing in the championship game, quote unquote, in the ASUN. Stetson had not lost yet. Florida Gulf Coast had. So it was one of those dumb scenarios with the double elimination, whatever, that if Stetson wins, they're the champ. If Florida Gulf Coast wins, they play again. It was one of those annoyances that we deal with across conference tournament week, which should be removed. Single elim everywhere, no pool play. Just play the damn games and make a bracket. Damn it. God.
So they ended up going with the higher seed just because Stetson was rated higher, but they would have been tied in the tournament at one game apiece.
Yes. So Florida Gulf Coast, at the time of the lightning delay, which ended up lasting 7+ hours before they called the game, dear Lord, Florida Gulf Coast was winning 6-5 in the 6th. So it was a completed game. So they were able to call the game, give Florida Gulf Coast the win, which only made them 1-1. So now they would have had to play again, which is impossible to do because you have to finish the games on Sunday per the NCAA baseball rules, and they couldn't. So because of that, Stetson, as the higher RPI rated team and the top seed, won the ASUN automatic qualifier.
Yeah, not ideal. Big South winner, USC Upstate, going to the tournament for the first time. Did they walk off High Point? I think they had to come back. I mean, High Point was the favorite for a lot of the year. USC Upstate? Yeah,
yes,
in
they
Big
did.
South.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Walked off High Point, so they're going dancing for the first time in school history, and they get a close regional. I think they're going to Clemson. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is, I think that's special, man, especially for a team. I mean, yeah, the kids want like a trip maybe geographically that's a little bit different, but when you consider, and who wouldn't, right? Like, I agree with that. Like, let's go somewhere cool. Who's coming down to Baton Rouge from the Northeast?
Well, Northeastern's going to Florida State.
Yeah, there's your example right there. For a team that's won 26 in a row. 27?
27 in a row.
27 in a row. They get to go down.
LSU, who's going to LSU? Where are you, Baton Rouge? Rhode Island.
Yeah, like that's awesome for Rhode Island.
Yeah, it is. But for USC Upstate, I bet the administration's probably like, heck yeah.
Because it's your first first tournament.
Well, for the administration's sake of you're talking about money these teams have to pay for this stuff. The administration just says, cool, book the bus every day. We don't need to pay for hotels. We don't need to pay for flights. We don't got to pay for nothing.
I don't have this on good authority, but I just assume the NCAA pays for all this.
I
don't
know.
This
they might.
I
hope they do.
Yeah,
I hope
just
so.
Like basketball.
But I don't know that.
Dude, they pay
I don't know that
all.
for a fact.
At
they might
Dingers,
pay for the hotel.
At 3D Dingers, if you have any intel for this, at Cal Schass, at SportsCon 4. Let me continue to rattle through the automatic qualifiers. Western Kentucky, CUSA, Columbia out of the Ivy, Murray State out of the Valley, Missouri Valley. The OVC is Little Rock. Little Rock, I think you made a comment in the car when we were driving up, like, of course. Little Rock was like 4-18, I think, in the regular season.
Yeah, but they're always in. Like they're always like haven't they won the OVC like a bunch of times?
No, look this up. Little Rock has been trash.
Okay? Oh, all right.
Let's learn about Little Rock.
Who was I thinking about then? Because I heard their name and was like, yeah, duh. Let's see.
They went 8-16 in the league this year.
Yeah, they didn't have a good season, but I just thought that they. Oh no, it's SEMO that I was thinking of.
Yeah. Okay.
SEMO has been in 3 of the last 4 years. My apologies, SEMO. I got you confused with Little Rock.
That's okay. I'm the one outing you. I'm the one bringing it into a public space.
I should own my mistakes. I need to own my mistakes.
I try to catch you messing up as much as I can. I want to see how you react because you don't normally mess up often. Okay. So
I messed up this time. I was thinking of SEMO, who was in last year.
But you
and
did
knocked
so in
out
the
Arkansas.
comfort of my own vehicle, where we could have kept that private. But I just wanted to,
It's fine.
bring
You
that
can
into
expose
public
me.
light. Yeah, I'm just
It's all
trying to
good.
expose you. Let me click on their Little Rock baseball heading to Baton Rouge
I'm
Regional.
gonna. I keep receipts. Okay, I keep my own receipts.
Little Rock is making its first NCAA regional appearance in 14 years.
That's amazing. Good for them.
Won 5 games in 4 days to take the Valley title.
And they ain't scared, right? Those guys play Arkansas multiple times a year, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty common midweek battle, and they are in the LSU regional where, like, I don't know much about Rhode Island, I'll be honest, but like I'm sure Little Rock could get a game over them. I mean DBU and LSU, like, good teams, but like I said, Little Rock's got SEC playing experience, so who knows, right? That's why this is fun. We had Evansville last year. Evansville was the story of the tournament, right? The little 4 seed that came within 1 game of going to the College World Series because they forced a Game 3 super in Knoxville.
Yeah.
Like, it was awesome. There's like the 8th 4 seed ever, I'm pretty sure, to advance out of regional play. Like, there are some 4 seeds in here that, like, I mean, I don't know if anybody's going to do it, but like, I mean, Wright State consistently in the tournament. Columbia beats the living snot out of the baseball. All right. That Southern Miss regional is going to be offensive heavy.
So is Baton Rouge, man. Rhode Island is 9th nationally in scoring, 35th in home runs with 85, 7th in OBP.
Yeah, Fresno State, they've won a College World Series before. They're not scared. Like, there are some 4 seeds in here that are legitimate contenders. All right, those 3, I think, in particular.
Fresno getting the Mountain West, ETSU out of the SoCon. ETSU a 3 seed. Louisville's the 2 at Vandy, right? I'm going off memory on this.
Yes,
okay.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
ETSU gets the 3. You'll have 2-seeded Louisville, 4-seeded Wright State, top seeded Vandy. That's your number 1 overall. Vanderbilt Commodores, the Nashville Regional. What else we got? Coastal, SBC, Sunbelt, St. Mary's, West Coast Conference, Binghamton, earning the America East, Arizona, Big 12. That's wrong. No, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Nebraska, Big 10, Northeastern, Fairfield out of the MAC, Fresno State, Holy Cross, Patriot League, Houston Christian, and Bethune-Cookman out of the SWAC. So those are all the auto qualifiers.
I want to say this right now. I am scared if I'm Oregon. I'm terrified of Arizona and Cal Poly. That's a tough draw. All right. That would scare me if I were a Ducky right now as the 12 seed. Whoo! Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's not easy, especially when you got a former conference running mate in Arizona. There's probably a few more examples of this going on. 5 former Pac-12 teams all getting in. The Big 10 getting propped up by their, is it 3 officially?
You get Arizona State and UCLA, a former Pac-12 matchup from the Big 10 and the Big 12.
Arizona State, both getting in. Former Pac-12, Big 12. So you got 4 total Big 10: Nebraska, Oregon, Southern Cal, and UCLA. None of them founding members.
Iowa.
Or no Iowa. Iowa gets left out.
Not surprising. They crumbled, but wow.
Here's another Kentucky nugget on you. So 19 quad 1 losses. Of those 19, 12 were by 2 or fewer runs. 4 were in extra innings.
Okay. I mean, the problem is you say that, and then we just told UConn win their games. And now you're telling Kentucky you don't have to win your games. You just have to lose them by close margins because you're playing better opponents.
Not all losses are created equal, David.
Apparently not. I mean, it goes back to what I said at the start, man. I feel for these mid-majors, dude, because you can win all your games and then you lose the one that matters, and who cares? Like, your season's over. Like, it's so funny because you saw, like, as West Virginia was tumbling down the stretch, West Virginia Twitter was just, oh, there goes hosting. There goes the postseason. We're not going to make it. Blah, blah, blah. And you have like a 3-game lead in the Big 12 still. It's like, dude, you're going to get in. You may not host, but you're going to get in the tournament. It's fine. But if you're UConn and you lost any one of those series along the way, this wouldn't even be a discussion. They would be done. Goodbye. Kibosh. But because they split the Big East, because they rattled off so many wins to close the year, because they made it to the Big East Tournament Championship game and lost to Creighton, the discussion has to be had. And it's really tough because you lost one game that decided your season. One. And Kentucky lost 19 quad one games, and you're like, oh, these are by 1 run or 2 run or extra innings. They were all tight. And so Kentucky is better than UConn, and they're in the field. And it's like, well, you might not be wrong, but it sucks because you're telling UConn to win all their games, and you're telling Kentucky, okay, it's okay, little Kentucky. You can lose the games. Participation matters. It's fine. Here's your little trophy. Here's your tournament selection. And you're telling UConn, oh, sorry, Johnny, you played real hard and you won all these games and you did great, but it doesn't matter because you played really, really stinky opponents. Like that's all. That's what you're saying. So I feel for the mid majors. I'm gonna die on that hill.
I've just uncovered something that sews it up when it comes to UConn. UConn never had any business getting into this field.
Oh, my.
Because one of their losses, very early on,
yes,
was to Missouri, 11-7 in Puerto Rico.
In the opening weekend of the regular season. Oh, no.
You can't lose all 3 games in Puerto Rico outside the continental United States and expect to get into the tournament, let alone losing by 4 runs to Missouri. Now, Missouri wasn't what we learned
Missouri
that they would become.
Yeah.
But, God, it was 10-6 to Stetson, 11-7 to Missouri, 7-6 to Penn State. Then you dropped 2 out of 3 to FAU. We knew it was a rough start, okay?
Mm-hmm. We knew that.
The Dodger Classic, USC, UCLA, they do get the win over Vanderbilt. Then they take 2 out of 3 over Miami. So you're starting to build some momentum as March Madness was taking center stage, 2nd and 3rd week. You dropped 2 games, though, to frickin' Campbell in Bowie's Creek.
I do want to point this out. UConn was the last team in the nation to play a series at home. They didn't play a series at home, I believe, until April. So, like, that also does matter.
Elliott Ballpark, Stores, Connecticut.
Yes.
March 25th. A 12-run loss to Boston College. They got their asses handed to them at home.
Yikes. I mean, look, here's the thing. And this is why why we both said we're okay with the committee's decision. You can find reasons to put UConn in. You can find reasons to keep UConn out. You can find reasons to put Kentucky in. You can find reasons to keep Kentucky out.
The top of the Big East, they dropped 2 out of 3 to Xavier and the 2 out of 3 to Creighton.
I know.
This is the most Jekyll and Hyde team.
I know that, but since then they went 24-4.
I don't care. That's from April on. What did you do before April? You lost to the 2 good teams in your league. Like that's like Troy losing to they beat Coastal. But then they get swept by Southern Miss. They don't play anybody else.
That's a fair point. They went 3-6 against Creighton and Xavier.
I mean, this resume is trash. Like, why are we even talking about UConn? I can't believe we wasted 10, 15 minutes cumulatively, the aggregate here, of talking UConn in the beginning in this sport. Like, what are we doing with our lives?
I just wanted to make the case that they had a case to get in. But like I said, you can make cases they didn't, case they did. Have we talked about TCU at all? Do we need to give TCU some kind of flowers?
You can.
I'm not sure. So
I don't know what kind of flowers. I mean, do they smell like half decent?
Well, let's talk about it. So TCU's RPI is 17, right? There's only one team that's hosting with a higher RPI. It's Southern Miss at 19. But they have a much better strength of schedule, 13. Their strength of schedule is better than seeds 9 and 11 through 16. Ole Miss is better with 6. But TCU in the third best conference has a number 13 strength of schedule. But they only went 20-15 in quad 1 and quad 2 games. Only 2 teams with fewer non-conference wins for TCU, because TCU only had 18, are hosting UCLA and Southern Miss. So there are some numbers that can keep TCU out of this field. RPI 17, 20-15 in Q1, Q2, non-conference wins only at 18. So those are the 3 numbers that I think pop out to me that keeps TCU out of the hosting field.
Well, who are they going to bump out? Because, like I said earlier, Southern Miss taking 2 out of 3 in Fort Worth early in the year.
It would be Southern Miss, but that's the one they can't because TCU beat them. It would be Southern Miss. That would be the only one. Like people could argue UCLA maybe, but UCLA's got a better RPI. And they had 42 wins. TCU had 39. End of story. Like, done.
Father's Day is
So-
coming up. Baseballbarbecue.com. Use the promo code 3D-20. Baseball Barbecue makes padded baseball and bat handle barbecue tools licensed for the best teams in college baseball. Fun, functional baseball barbecue products. Perfect for casual fans or serious grillers. Slide in the name Kahn because it's relevant. Many of these teams competing in this 64-team field are all featured. There's Major League Baseball partners as well that you can find, the apparel, racks, and grills. This is custom, hand quality made stuff here. You can even customize some of the grilling tools. So summer is here. Father's Day is coming up. If you click on the college tab, baseballbarbecue.com, go online, you'll see teams like Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Auburn, Coastal Carolina, Clemson, ECU, DBU, Creighton, all these teams participating in the NCAA Baseball Tournament. FSU, just going down the line, Kansas State, LSU, Oklahoma, NC State, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Southern Miss, Tennessee, not Texas A&M.
Nope.
And not Virginia.
Is Mike Learley getting fired?
I hope not.
I hope not as well. I've seen a lot of talk that says it's not if, but when he is terminated. And I think that's terrible. With all he had to deal with this year and the bevy of injuries that Texas A&M was dealt with.
How about Jace Lavalette, too, this week? An
Yeah.
absolute gladiator. I mean, breaks his
God.
hand, his left hand, the bottom of it getting hit by a pitch late in the game against, gosh, who was this? It wasn't LSU. Was it the win over? It's all a blur. This whole past week is just a blur.
It was a win over somebody. Mississippi State? No, that was the first game.
No, it was game 2.
Florida?
Auburn? Was it Auburn maybe they played?
Might have been. It was Auburn. It was Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might have been Auburn. So he gets surgery that night and then plays the next day. So you win Thursday. He comes back, plays Friday in the quarterfinal round. It's a pain tolerance thing. Can't injure it anymore. 4th metacarpal. They even had to pop a bone back into place too. I think initially it was reported. So a guy like that, I think, reveals so much certainly about the character and grit and just the love that Jace Lavalette has for his teammates in what was, well, let's be honest with ourselves, he won't suit up in an Aggies uniform again, and he wasn't going to allow his career to end that way as a bona fide, for sure, first-round draft pick. Likely still can be in that top 5, top 10 range. We'll see. There a lot of things can change certainly over the next month or so, but for him to lay it all out on the line, to go out there and DH in that final game, I think it says just as much about Jace as it does about Michael Early. And there's a reason why all these players wanted him to come after he left for Austin. They wanted him as their coach. They believed in him. Obviously, his approach resonated with them, and they thought that with him directing this ship, it was the only way that they would fully be able to reach their potential. And because of injuries, they were set up to fail from the very start. And it started with Gavin Grohovac at the end of February.
Yep.
And Shane Sadeo never pitched. It was a extremely, probably one of the more interesting, I don't know if we'll have as fascinating and interesting of a season. You don't want to say never, but prisoner of the moment. They're the first team ever to be preseason number 1 and not make the NCAA tournament. And they tried their damnness this week to make a run. They certainly made it interesting. And if it weren't for the injuries and not having Caden Sorrell all week, who had suffered basically the same sort of injury a week prior at Georgia that Jace Lavalette had sustained this week, the deck was just stacked against him, man. And it's
you got to give
give Early the offseason without the freaking turbulence that this program had experienced a year ago when they lose their coach overnight. Schloss goes to Texas, brings Early, brings Max Wiener, brings everyone with him. You think he's going to start dipping into the transfer portal. The only way to maintain that roster was for, I don't want to say administration succumbed to the players' wishes, but there was a heavy player-led influence. And I think administration recognized, like, hey, we got a chance to be great with or without Slosh. F him. He's gone. We're going to win this thing with the guy that the players want to keep our roster intact. And that's what A&M did. And I don't fault them for it. They just couldn't stay healthy. So give that guy a clean bill of health. The team, hopefully, a clean bill of health. And literally go out there and cook next year. And if they don't make the tournament again, I hate the idea of fire. But I know Texas A&M would pull the plug on them at that point.
Probably. Yeah.
So
they probably would.
Whatever.
I'm with you. You know what resonates with me, Kyle Schassburger? The brand new Bubblegum Blast Borgo Ball. All right. And I'm putting it on the screen right now for everybody to witness.
God,
because look at this.
I want to put that Borgo. I've got to be careful with how I speak. I want to put that Bubblegum Blast Borgo Ball in my mouth. God, I don't want to take a bite out of it.
Dude, look at this thing. All right, so it's their second limited edition. They had the Ocean Storm ball that sold out in 6.9 seconds. I mean, it was incredible. This Bubblegum Blast is coming soon. It is not available yet. Don't come for us when you go to the website, which is backyardbaseballbros.com. That's backyardbaseballbros.com. Clean look. You'll see the OG Borgo ball on the left. When you open, this is what you'll see. All you got to do is click right here. Bubblegum Blast. Bam. Right there. You see it. And it's pink. It's got blue laces, neon colored for all you neon color fans out there. All right. Borgo ball, Bubblegum Blast coming soon. Their second limited edition. I don't know how many they'll have. I think they had 100 of the Ocean Storm. They'll probably have 100 of this one. They're going to go fast. Get them online, backyardbaseballbros.com. Shout out to Blake Bergonio and the Bergonio brothers, the Bergonio family, for just pumping out quality baseballs, foam baseballs, raised seams. They feel like a real baseball. We brought them in Hoover. We messed around with them a little bit. They were great to just kind of hold and squeeze while we were calling games all week. Super fun, super easy, super affordable. 4-pack for $20. All right, you can't get a better deal than that. backyardbaseballbros.com.
I think that's beautiful. So cool what they're doing to be able to recreate the success of what the Borgo ball is, make it cool, make it trendy. I mean, you got to get your hands on those. And I have an idea for Blake. I don't want to reveal this on the show, but for Blake Bergonio, I've got an idea for him to help us and to help those participating in our bracket challenge. Because we've got to come up with some sort of prize.
Oh.
So you know what? I may sort of tease this and put him on the spot. But I think the Borgo ball needs to be a part of the prize pack, the prize. I don't know. But I need to confirm those details with him. So we need to figure out how to award whoever it is that takes home the crown for our 3D bracket challenge, which that link is live. If you haven't seen it, go on Twitter on X at 3D Dingers. Or when you're on D1
that right now.
Or when you're on D1Baseball.com, because this is a part of D1Baseball.com. So thank you, Kendall Rogers, Aaron Fitt, Mark Etheridge. Good to see Joe Healy. You talked to him more than I did this past week. I know Mark Etheridge was ill, couldn't really make it. But
yes, he wasn't there.
He was dealing with sinus infection, but always great to see Joe. Love Joe Healy. And
absolutely.
The
Jack DeLongshaw.
Jack DeLongshaw. God, my God, Jack. We didn't get Biscuit Belly. It was a travesty. But we had some weather
right now.
We had some weather issues that kind of threw off the whole week. It really wasn't catastrophic, but it's throwing a wrench in the way we operate each and every day last week. It can change a lot of things. And there were schedules that were impacted, even in spite of just really moving one game.
Yep.
But then we had the early starts on the weekend. So, that threw everything for a loop. But we wouldn't be able to do what we do without the help of D1Baseball.com. So we are going to piggyback off of them for this bracket challenge because nobody does it better than them. Yes. So if you do go to D1Baseball.com and you see the splash page, the bracket challenge, and Kahn is pinning it to the top of our 3D Dingers Twitter and X right now. It's done. It's there. You can click that. It'll take you right to our group. But you can also search on the bracket challenge page. It's 3D 3D-Dingers. 3D-Dingers is the name of the group. So I've started to circulate that link.
We've already had
some of
someone
those
tweet us
internally.
about it, actually.
Yeah, it's
NASCAR
Big Dave.
Junkie.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's Big Dave.
Is that
It's my
Big
buddy.
Dave?
Yeah, it's my buddy.
Didn't Big Dave win last year?
I
Wasn't
think
he
he
the winner?
might have.
I think he
Yeah.
won. But he says, support my dude at Kyle Schass and at 3D Dingers. Have fun playing the D1 Bracket Challenge. He put the link. He said, don't forget to check out at 3D Dingers on YouTube. Hashtag Dingers for days. Hashtag Borgo Balls. Hashtag Baseball Barbecue. Thank you, Big Dave, for supporting our sponsors. We appreciate that.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's good. I think it was him. I don't know what I gave him, or what we
Cookies?
gave him.
I think you gave him
Oh yeah, it was cookies. It was him or
Yeah.
Dustin.
I want to say Big Dave won.
Yeah.
Anyways, I've Twitter is being weird today, but I've and it's been weird all weekend. But I pinned it. What are you doing, Elon? Jesus. I pinned the tweet. It's good. We're there at 3D Dingers on Twitter on X. All right, you get the bracket challenge. Find it. Go in and submit your bracket. See if you can beat the two college baseball savants in myself and Kyle Schassburger, who have never won our own bracket challenge.
No. Do you have we got maybe 15 minutes or so left before my laptop dies. Do you have looking back on this week, and you can provide maybe some hat tips, SDAs, just moments that stand out. Let's give, because I started the podcast by saying we aren't really able to appreciate what this past week was.
Yeah.
What sticks out for you? For me, obviously, and for you, Hoover is front and center, and Ole Miss was able to play themselves into a hosting role. Tennessee was able to do that as well. In spite of going 0-1, Kentucky does slide into the tournament. So a record 13 team, some high-level baseball, not a lot of offense, just 20 total home runs in Hoover. That after 47 a year ago. 47 home runs a year ago, or 46, but it was a tournament record, and only 20 this past week in Hoover. It tells you everything you need to know. High-level defense, some timely pitching, some clutch, gutsy performances. Connor Spencer for Ole Miss had 3 saves in 3 games. Did not pitch in the title game, though, against Vanderbilt.
He couldn't. His arm was going to fall off.
Yeah, Vandy walked off Tennessee in the semifinal game. That was, a snoozer, or at least, didn't live up to any sort of expectations that you might have for that rivalry.
Mercy ruled Tennessee. Yeah.
Certainly from a Vanderbilt perspective, it was nice. And Tony Vitello said afterwards, by the way, 13 hits for Vanderbilt, none of them extra base hits. First time that's happened. A team scores 10 runs and doesn't have an extra base hit since
2000.
in 25 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Vandy responsible
Florida
for 2 of those. The other one was in 1980. So 1980, 2000, and 2025 in the SEC tournament. Vitello said after, Riley Nelson is the kind of guy, quote, you just wish didn't exist, which was incredible from Tony Vitello.
Birdie Johnston, you wish he didn't exist all week either. He was the tournament most outstanding player.
Yeah, he was. He homered early in that game, first inning against Ole Miss. But
yep.
You didn't have the attendance was like, I didn't see the final attendance figure. We had a really big quarterfinal Friday with
LSU.
Yeah, who the hell played? Arkansas and Ole Miss, and then LSU and A&M. That was like 15-5, I believe, was the attendance across those 2 games. That was a monster crowd. And then with LSU and Tennessee's exit on Saturday, it was about as what you would expect. It lessened some. It was like 13-6, but I don't know what the total was for the week. But, I'm so locked into everything going on in Hoover. You're trying to pay attention to what's going on elsewhere. I did not like speaking of crowds, did not like the crowds at the Schwab.
Terrible. Horrible.
But what do you expect?
Yeah. So. Huge stadium in the Big Ten is not a baseball conference.
ECU's run was very surprising in the American, because this isn't a typical Cliff Godwin team, but maybe them being under the radar and being able to play their best baseball at the right time. They don't have the power or the physicality.
Yeah,
outside of the couple 2 arms they have. I don't see them making a run in the tournament, or
it's got to be Coastal or Florida out of that regional. Yeah,
and Florida's so banged up now.
I know.
Will that catch up?
They lost. Yeah, they lost Heyman. So that's another injury for them.
Anyways, my question to you, what else do you want to slide in here
Oh,
that is
man. I mean, you
notable.
named a lot of it. Hoover was still amazing despite the weather. Hoover was incredible. I love the single elimination bracket. That's what stands out to me the most. The single elimination format for the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, that should be the standard across the board. Invite everybody to the party, single elim. Just do it. I think that is awesome. And I think it creates for the best baseball. I think you give the top 4 seeds or however many seeds, depending on what your state conference looks like, buys. I think it's perfect. I think everybody needs to adopt it. I think it'll make conference tournament week even that much more exciting. Now I get it why these other conferences do pool play with double elimination, because they're trying to get more teams into the field by getting bid steals. And it worked out, right? It worked out for the Big Ten. It worked out for the American. Like, it's all possible, and I understand it. But for the viewer, the fan, the best baseball is one and done. Single elim, light it up, line them up, play the ball. You win, you stay, you lose, you're gone. Love it. That's what stood out to me the most from Conference Tournament Week, is how well single elimination works. It's awesome, and we should keep it. Beyond that, man, I mean, I was so deep into the SEC, I don't honestly really know. I really don't have much else that stood out. There was that issue in the SoCon tournament with Samford and Mercer, where Samford's guy hit a home run and then egregiously taunted the entire Mercer team, causing Mercer's coach to pull their entire team off the field in protest. Yeah. And then afterwards, the umpire ejected the Samford player, the Mercer shortstop, and the Mercer coach. And then the Mercer shortstop's mom got ejected. And then the Mercer shortstop's third baseman got ejected later in the game for shoving a Samford player trying to dive back to the third base bag. So let's just say the emotions of Conference Tournament Week stood out to me as well.
Some fireworks, man, with Mercer and Samford was that game.
Mm-hmm.
How about here's a reminder. So while you and Tim Bickford were calling Tennessee and Alabama, now the game just wouldn't end. we had a game
Tennessee and Texas, you mean?
No, Tennessee and Alabama.
The 15-10 game. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that game would not end.
Yeah, would not end. Tennessee, Texas, I guess, looking back on it, probably was the best. That was the best game of the tournament.
Thriller. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. You had a couple that were tied just because of the natural, pitching duels that we had in the back half of the week. There were some lopsided ones early on. But, yeah, I think you and Tim with Texas and Tennessee, 12 innings. Texas bows out in one game. Was definitely – because Tennessee scored, 5 unanswered in that game?
Take a 5-4 lead in the 10th. Gavin Keelan homered in the top of the 10th to give him the lead. Texas tied it, had the winning run on base, stranded him. Nothing in the 11th. In the 12th, Gavin Keelan again, 2-run double, 7-5, Tennessee wins.
Okay. While you were calling that, I think it was early. It wasn't, this was the day before, Tennessee, Alabama. In the ACC, as Aaron Fitt of D1 Baseball put,
oh my God,
quote in his tweet, "My fellow Americans, our long national nightmare is over. The Cal versus Wake game has concluded at great cost to our national pride. Yes. 9 innings, 23 walks, 7 hit by pitches, 415 pitches, just 224 strikes, 4 hours, 10 minutes. Cal holds on, 14-12. Just
that's all horrible.
Premier
it's all terrible
in the ACC as
well. Dude,
were
you worried that Wake Forest got snubbed as you were watching that selection show?
I forgot Wake Forest existed while I was watching the show. So when they popped up, I was like, "Oh yeah, they do play baseball." Just being honest with you,
the last regional pairing they announced was Arkansas and Tennessee, and I'm like, "Well, Wake's not going to Arkansas. Are they going to send them to Lindsey Nelson?" And apparently they are. But when they didn't go to Clemson, when they didn't go to Georgia, when they didn't go to North Carolina, they didn't go to Coastal Carolina. I was like, did Wake Forest get snubbed? Like, did losing one and done to Cal snub the Deeks? I was sitting there with my jaw on the floor, and I was like, if they don't put Wake Forest in the field, the entirety of Winston-Salem is going to drive to southeastern Louisiana with pitchforks lit with white hot fire. Thank God they put him in, because I was like, whoa, you can't not put Wake Forest in the field. But they did, and they're a 2 seed. It's fine, but I just didn't expect them to be in Tennessee. I thought they'd be at Coastal.
Yeah, I'm lying. I'm not trying to be too hard on Wake. I'm just saying I was reminded that they're worthy enough of an NCAA bid. So I was like, oh yeah, Wake. So I wasn't locked in waiting to see where they went. It was just
that was the one team I was locked in waiting to see where they went. Because everybody else I was like, okay, we got it. Good. West Virginia going to Tennessee, or no, Clemson was a bit of a surprise. I thought they were going to go elsewhere, but so I was like, okay, they're in. I know they're in. Where are they going? Wake Forest, it was one of those, they might not be in.
Yeah. No, I never had that concern, really. You got any dudes, hat tips, STAs you want to throw in?
I mean, yeah, like I could throw them in real quick. So we'll go Jake Gorlick of Stetson. Guy didn't pitch all of last year, and he has like his ERA in the conference is like, it's stupid. It's like 0.39 in the A-Sun, and he pitched him all the way to the A-Sun championship. So Jake Gorlick of Stetson's my dude. A hat tip to Carolyn Pickens of the Lady Vols softball team. Threw a 79.4 mile per hour pitch in supers this past weekend, the fastest recorded pitch in NCAA school history. That's my hat tip. Also, by the way, that leads us perfectly into, in addition to the NCAA Baseball Regional Rundown that is this weekend, Friday, May 30th through June 2nd, 1 to 11 p.m., Friday through Sunday, Monday TBD. We will also have live coverage of all of the baseball regional sites on the Varsity Network app, and we'll have live look-ins to the Women's College World Series with Westwood One's live radio coverage. So a good way to slip that in there right at the end. My SDA is, I have to share my screen. It's with Rhode Island. When they won the A-10. I want you to just watch the final out, because I think you of all people will appreciate the way that Rhode Island's pitcher celebrated the final out of the A-10. So here you go. Just watch this right here. So ground ball, and before it even gets to the first baseman, he's pointing at his ring finger and doing the little discount double check.
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that without flicking somebody off. So the fact that he was able to get his ring finger up.
Yeah.
Okay, he just pointed at it.
Yeah, he did this. I needed to full screen it, but he did that. So ground ball is hit, and before it's even in the first baseman's glove, he turns around, throws his glove off, and goes, bam! It was awesome. I was like, yes.
That is pretty cool.
So SDA for that. That's it. That's all I got.
All right, Women's College World Series, as you mentioned, does start on Thursday. So, yeah, we will have some coverage of that on Friday and throughout the weekend as part of the regional rundown show, which is 1 to 11, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is our plan. Okay, Monday TBD. The Women's College World Series, for those that don't know, just to give you those teams, I had it right in front of me. You've got Texas and Florida, who will meet first. Tennessee and Oklahoma. It's got to be on Thursday, right? Yeah, those are your Thursday matchups. Game 1 for each of those 4 programs. And then on Friday, Ole Miss and Texas Tech, Oregon, UCLA. And the big shocker when we were recording late on Sunday night, for those that might want an update or hadn't caught this, as you and I were ready to prepare for Hoover, Texas A&M, the number 1 overall seed, had gone down to Liberty.
Oklahoma's going to win it again, dude.
Night,
They're going to win it again.
Which had never happened.
It's going to be 5 straight. It's going to be 5 straight for the Sooners, all right? Just lock it in right now. 5 straight.
Crazy. All right, man. That's all I got. I got to go, just take a Celsius to my face. I had a workout this morning that was unlike anything I'd experienced in the previous 8 or 9 days.
Is your arm okay?
No, it is not. It is not.
Okay.
But I had a full scoop of pre-workout, which I've been deprived of for the last 8 days. So, while I was struggling after dropping Pudge at school to keep the vehicle in between I stayed up. All right. It wasn't that bad, but I'm like, man, I'm going to need a nap. I don't know if I can get this workout in this morning. Like I'm going to pull in the gym parking lot and just go to sleep, or I'm going to go right to the office and get my hour and a half nap. Gabe is really good for these too. Gabe Genovese.
Yes.
And when you have kids, but I'm like, well, I can't because I got no other time in my day to be able to work out. Like I've got this pre-workout though, and I haven't had it the last week while out of town in Hoover. So I've had plenty of other stimulants, Celsius, 5-hour coffee, but let me do like a scoop and a half of this. And man, I was like Incredible Hulk. I got through it. It was still a struggle, but I wasn't ready to like fall asleep, on a piece of equipment. So. But now I've got it all overcoming me where it's like, okay, I've been up since 6 a.m. Yep. I didn't go to bed till close to 1. Like I need a Celsius to the face. And then I got to start getting ready, getting Arkansas and Southern Miss ready for this weekend too, my schools. So
I did ask my doctor on retainer, by the way. She said compressed nerve or a tendon issue. So you should definitely get that looked at.
Okay. Who do I see? I don't see doctors. I don't know what that means. Like what?
We'll
just call? Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. We'll do it on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. We will be back. You will be back. I will be out.
Deserting me.
I will be out on Thursday. But look, here's the tease. Go ahead and give the tease, and then we'll end the show. We plan to visit with a participating player of the NCAA tournament.
Yes, we do. Do you want me to say who it is?
You can, as long as you aren't gonna.
I don't want to say who it is. I don't want to jinx it yet.
It's
not locked in. The request has been put out to talk to a certain player on a participating NCAA tournament team that we have tried to talk to before, and we are hopefully going to get to talk to him this week as we preview his team's magical season that has included a lengthy winning streak. That's all I'm gonna say.
I love that. Okay. He's David Kahn. I'm Kyle Schassburger. Live, love, laugh. Gains.